Kia ora everyone, welcome. Nice to see you all. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for those stragglers. Kia ora, welcome.
Kia ora nau mai, haere mai.
Just waiting a few seconds for people to join us. Thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming along and being here tonight. We're just waiting a few more moments before we start. Settle down, get a cup of tea.
Glass of water, anyway, Māori.
Kia ora everyone. Well, I might pass it over to you, Hanako, to start us off for this evening. Thank you.
Tēnā tātou, I mea tō tātou tīmata hana kia tuku whakamoimiti. Nā reira, me noi tātou. Kei au te tauranga tū, te Māori tū, te whiwhianuku tū, piritia mai rai roti te whiwhiaroto. Tēnei te Māori ka whakapiki te Māori e rangi e tūnei, nōku no tū ki te whakatauira mai. Tēnei te Māori ka whakakake, te Māori ka puta ki te whai au, ki te o marama, haumi e, hui e, tā e ki e. Nā reira, tēnā tātou kua rau I ka mai I tēnei pō, ki te whakarongo I ngā kōrero e pāna ki tēnei kaupapa hau mō ngā hōtoka tono pūtea. Nā reira, tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou nau mai haere mai ki runga I tēnei ipurangi. Nau mai haere mai me te ahuatana ki o tātou tini mate e takoto mai rai o tātou kāinga, marae, maha, aha koa te whiu o te kōrero teitei ki runga I a rātou, e kore rātou e hokia. Nā reira wai ho rātou kia moi, anei tātou nā maramara o rātou mā, e kawe nei I nā moi moi ai whakarere ai ho e o tātou mātua tīpuna. Nā reira, huri noa I tō tātou I runga I purangi, hoi anō ko te whakatau no atu I a koutou, I tēnei pō, nā reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou, ka huri.
Tēnā tātou katoa, he uri ahau Ngāti Tūwhare toa Ngāti Whakaui Tūhaurangi Tainui, he uri hoki au no ngā tūpuna o Ngā Rangi me ko te rana, ko Amanda Hiriaka taku ingoa. Evening, everyone. My name is Amanda, and usually I am the manager of the International Initiatives and Services team here at Creative New Zealand, but tonight my role is that of a facilitator, mainly of the questions, because tonight's event is an information session to help you understand the changes happening here at Creative New Zealand. After our brief introductions, we'll present a slideshow outlining our new programs. As this session is being run as a webinar, that means you will only be able to see us presenters here or our slides, not the other participants. There's no chat function, but instead what we do is encourage you to ask questions. So feel free throughout the session to contribute by submitting your questions through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen as part of the functions menu of the Zoom window. Also note that tonight's session is being recorded so that you can refer to it as you need to, and it will be uploaded to our website in the coming days. My role tonight is to, as I said, help facilitate any questions you may have for either myself or Kiriyama or Hanako. And if there are any questions that we are unable to answer tonight, we will publish these answers to the questions on our website. And we'll also be sharing the slides you are about to see. And that really sounds like a good segue for me to pass the rako over to Kiriyama, who'll be guiding us through our session tonight. So, Kiriyama.
Tēnā koe, Amanda. o tira, tēnā tātou, koe kara pine mai ki tēnei hui a tātou, tēnā koutou I whai wāhi mai ki tēnei kaupapa. Reira, mo kore anō te mihi. E pari tonu ana ngā mihi ki a koe te pāpā, ko whakapua ahorangi aku whakamānoa ki te titoke o te rangi, ki te whakaae o te whenua. Kia rewa ake ai tō tātou hui I runga I te tika. Reira, kei te whetu atu tahi mā rehua, a tēnei ka mihi, tēnei ka mihi, tēnei ka mihi. Tēnā tātou, ko kere ama te ua tēnei. Ka re ahorangi ake taku manu ki te tihi o tōku maunga whakahi, ki te keo ngā mātiti maunga, ki te pātu watawata o oku tīpuna e. Papaki ana ngā parirau ki runga ka mātai, honua ki ngā roemata turuturu o te kararo o tamatea, ki te wai mātautau, te wai aweka ki ngā wai tuku kiri o oku tīpuna e. Ka hoki oi whakararo taku manu ki te wahapū, ki te mono, toi te huatahi e, te toi o te waka, kete mai, kete mai. Mā ngā kuria whare ki te hirau mā tātua waka, mā tātua tangata, tā wharautia e ho. Ka whiatua taku manu, ka haro mai ki utaki o pōtiki mai tawhiti te whenua taurikuri o oku tīpuna e, ke wake te haere ki te wāhi tūtua I te pūehu, ka haka mai te manu ki runga o ki ore kino ki te papa o te riri, ki te pakanga o te tarata e ho. Whakatohea ki runga, whakatohea ki raro. Tohe ake nei, tohe ake nei. E pōkokohua te raupatu e. Ka hoki mai taku manu ki te whakamarutanga o te wai o weka ki o peke rau ki tōku marae o peke ki tōku tīpuna tapairua muruwai ki tōku rangatirai a te pōpō. Ko kere ama te ua tēnei mihi atu nei. Kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Tēnā tātou katoa. All right, e hoa mā. How are we going to start? Should we go straight into the slides? Ka pai, sounds great. So most of you who are joining us tonight may have participated in a series of workshops that Creative New Zealand conducted around the country, 24 in total, and also 6 working bees with a smaller group of artists ringatoi, ringarehe, who helped to co-design tēnei wēnei mea te anamata o ngā whakawhanaketanga, te whakapakaritanga o ngā mahi toi. We heard a lot of feedback while we're out on the road, and a lot of it was actually really in line with what we're thinking and feeling as well, that the current funding system doesn't work for everybody. That seems to be a one fit for all type of model. It doesn't acknowledge different people in the different stages of the career that they're in. The contestable nature of our funding meant that individual artists were going or in a funding round competing for funding against festivals or well-oiled machine type organizations that are quite fluent in their language of application writing. We know that our funding success rate is only around 30% at the most, which means 70% of people go home disgruntled or feeling like they've missed out or that their project wasn't good enough. And ka roha ki tērā. And you're also feeling that you've put in a lot of work and momo. So meeting with with arts organisations, practitioners, and the several hui that we had, not just this year, but over the last few years, and even dating back to 2017 when Creative New Zealand did a roadshow for Ngātoi Māori, we picked up a lot of feedback on how we could address some of the gaps or the barriers or create more connection within our communities. And so we've, along with some of our partners or some of the sector, so artists and practitioners like yourselves that are joining us tonight, we've developed a new way of working moving forward. So I think what I'll do now is I'll just go straight to sharing the slide, and I'll be able to talk to it a little easier. Please bear with me. There is a lot of information. You can go back, as Amanda said earlier, to have a look at the video that will be posted. The slides will be posted. There'll be contact information for you guys at the end of this webinar if you wanted to get in contact with one of the advisors or myself to have a little bit more of a conversation about how we might be able to support you best. So without further ado, I'll go straight to the slide. Okay, this is different. Let's just try it. And from the beginning. Did that work? Thumbs up. Okay,
It's looking good to me. Well done. You're doing better than me already. Well done.
Good job. Okay. All right. He toi whakairo he mana tangata. So, first of all, I want to talk about some of the shifts that we're making within Creative Museum. On the left-hand side, you'll see sort of high level on how we are currently working with the sector. And on the right-hand side, you'll see what we intend to be doing moving forward with the suite of funding opportunities that I'm about to present. So currently, primarily funding projects, short-term projects. Future state, or what we're proposing is that we're moving into investing in people, valuing creating things and doing activities, and over valuing artists. We're moving towards valuing our artists this time. Capability or capacity to deliver activities, moving from that to strength of artistic vision and purpose. Moving from supporting project outputs to supporting project impacts. It's a major shift that we heard from our sector that burnout is a real thing, and that contestable funding, if you're lucky, meant that you're working from project to project, giving your best every single time. And in the end, there's nothing left for you, or no room to move so that you can explore and create without the fear of making mistakes. So we really want to encourage risk-taking moving forward. Focuses on short-term funding life cycles, moving from that to focusing on long-term development. And right at the bottom there, our support is a series of interactions and usually conditional on Creative New Zealand support, moving away from that to having a real meaningful relationship with our sector in a way that we're able to support you and have a relationship with you that's beyond the transaction, beyond funding. So moving on. So there are three main funnels. Tonight I'll be presenting 8 different funding opportunities, and those come out of 3 main funnels. So the first one, really we want to talk about the artists at the early stage of their career, or the Toitipu Toerea Fund. Now this fund was first or originally designed back in 2017 out of feedback that came back from the sector that there wasn't enough support for emerging artists, that it was hard to navigate the system or even write applications or understand who's in the ecology and how you're able to get support. Amanda and I redeveloped that program last year, and we made a few changes to that program, which included tohunga tupunga. It included the alignment of matariki, so our decision-making days, our wānanga days, notification days, are all aligned with different phases of our maramataka. We want to really encourage, making mistakes at the early stage of your career, and giving you the flexibility to do that, and having a genuine relationship where you can keep adapting until you've found exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. So the fund will support you to still do everything that it used to do. But the difference here is that we've rolled this program out across the General Arts Fund and the Pacifica Arts Fund as well. Mentoring is a big part of that, but hey, there might be a part of your practice that you really wanted to develop beside a tohunga or mātanga, or it might be the business element of your practice that you want to develop, and we're here to support that as well. Moving along, artists and collaboratives, I'll see support towards time to develop the artistic practice, creating work and taking risks. Now that's a big one. International activities, so we'll support you more on that. Working collaboratively with others, And of course, building business, so that it can support your practice, because the diversification of income is really how sustainability works as an artist in our current climate. Moving along again, arts organisations and groups will see support towards organisational costs over a long term, and this will also support the artistic work. Building financial capability and developing audiences, building cultural competency. Te nui ngō tātou he Māori, no reira, kei a tātou ke I nei āhuatanga. Heoi, if you don't have those, we're here to support, and there's funding to help to support you grow your organisation in these areas as well. We'll be looking at running residencies and internships, and also focusing on growing our new leaders, and I'll get into that a little bit more. So here we have the 8 offerings. Toi Tipu Toire, that's the Emerging Artist Fund. Now you can apply to up to 10K for this fund. I'll go into more detail as we get there. Creative Fellowship Fund, now this one is probably one of my favourites. It's between up to 25K or up to 50K. For this one, you don't need a specific project, but I'll get into the detail of that one there as we move along. The Creative Impact Fund, now this is between 50 and 125K. Development Fund for Artists and Practitioners. Now, if you have applied for the BBC, or the Building Business Capability Fund in the past, this is similar to that, except we've included so not just the capability building or the business side of your organisation or your company, or yourself as an individual, but also the artistic side. So you're able to apply for mentoring or workshops or training or anything that you've identified in your suite of pukenga. There might be gaps somewhere, or there might be something that you really want to hone in and develop a little bit further, but you just need a little extra financial support. The New Leaders Cohort program is going to be a cohort of new leaders. Now, this is really designed for those who are moving into leadership positions across the country, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's there's no pute associated to that, but there will be lots of support, lots of training, and you'll be joining with other experts or other mātanga across the arts ecology as well. Arts Organisations and Groups Fund. So this is between 50 and 125K. The Development Fund for Arts Organisations. Now this one here is up to 20K, similar to the Development Fund for Artists and Practitioners, but this one here is for groups. And so this is the first time that we've delivered this type of contestable funding opportunity specifically for organisations. And the last one on my list here is residencies, internships, and fellowship funds. Now, the amount is yet to be advised. Moving on.
Kiriama, just a sec, can I interrupt? Sorry, we're having a little bit of issues with your sound. I'm wondering if you have some headphones with a mic on it that we could check, and maybe we'll just briefly go through those funding rounds again. Let's see, we'll do a mic check. This is what happens when you go live, you know. Sometimes things don't go like you practiced.
Kia manawa nui e hoa ma. I'm going to have to stop sharing so that I can get into my headphones. Wow, we did test this before we started there, well, but yeah, technology.
That's all good.
Scan those headphones and all right. Can you hear me there?
That's much better.
All right. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe just a brief, just go through the funds, maybe just the top level again. We heard most of it. It was just a bit fuzzy. That's all.
All right. Well, being a couple haka boy, I know what dress rehearsals are like, but they're not usually live. I'm just going to go back to the start, actually, just to make sure that everybody has got the messages nice and clear. And hopefully, when we post this to our Facebook page, we'll edit it so it'll make it look like I was actually really, really good. But tēnā tātou. Kia ora mai. All right. I talked about shifts. Now, on the left-hand side, you'll see what we're doing currently. On the right-hand side, you'll see how we intend to move to work moving forward, along with our sector as well. So currently, primarily the funding is for projects or short-term projects. We want to move away from that and move into investing in the people rather than the projects. Currently, we're valuing creating things and doing activities, moving away from that to valuing artist time. Get into that a little bit further on down the track. Currently, capability and capacity to deliver activities, moving from that to strength of artist vision and purpose. Moving from supporting projected outputs to supporting project impacts. Now that's quite a significant change. I'll elaborate a little bit more as we get further on down the track. Focus currently is on short-term funding. We want to move away from that to longer-term funding support to help with the development of yourself as a practitioner or your organisation. And at the bottom here, our support of a series of interactions and a conditional on Creative New Zealand support. And we really want to move away from that. What we heard while we were out on the road is that our sector wants to move away from the transactional relationship that we have, or some of us have, to more of a relational, where we will be working a lot closer with our sector, being able to connect the dots, being able to navigate spaces and connect you with others that are already either working in the sector or other funding opportunities or agencies, either here in Aotearoa or internationally as well. So moving on. Now, soon I'll be presenting 8 new funding opportunities. Now, these 8 new opportunities are funneled sort of into 3 different categories. And I'm sorry if this is a lot of information. You will be able to go back and watch this video, take stills, take screenshots. The slides will also be available online. And of course, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about your project or about your plans moving forward, or just a little bit more clarity around the proposed funding model moving forward, we'll drop a list of people that you can get in touch with, myself being one of those people as well. So starting on the left-hand side, we have opportunities for artists at the emerging stage of their career. Now, this was really modelled off the Toi Tipu Toirea program, which was developed actually by Haniko back in 2017. And it came off the back of a series of interactions, a series of working bees and workshops and a roadshow that was conducted back then. And we heard a lot. We heard a lot from the sector back then. And a few years later, those same concerns actually still affected our people. One of the major things that we heard in relation to emerging artists is that there was not enough funding opportunities for emerging artists, and emerging artists are usually competing against festivals or well-oiled machine organizations that are really fluent in the language of application writing. So it's sort of not fair, especially when you're at that really beginning stage. You're still navigating your space, you're still figuring it out, which direction you want to take within your practice as well. So there's not a lot of changes within that program. If you've been a part of that before, this is an opportunity for you to also work with a mentor, mātanga, pūkema, tohunga, to develop your practice, whether it's artistic or the business arm of your practice as well. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about that fund really soon. Moving on, artists and collaborators. Now they'll still see support or time to develop the artistic practice. Now that's important, so I'll talk a little bit about that really soon. The ability to be able to create and take risks, and I think sometimes in that risk space is actually where true innovation comes through, and currently there's not a lot of room for you to change or adapt or be able to take a risk, and we want to be able to encourage that, especially for our artists who are the vanguards of social change. Arts organisations and groups will be another funnel, where we will have a look at funding or providing funding support for longer term, so that you can focus on the things that matter to you. And that could come in the form of building cultural competency or building business competency. Don't really like that word competency, but tera. And also there's a couple of programs that actually support the development of new leaders. There's a lot of new arts leaders that have moved into CE roles or leadership roles or governance roles, and they haven't had a lot of support or training, and there's a couple of offerings here that you might be able to tap into, so that we're able to support your aspirations into the future and really support the growth within your organisation. So, moving on. These are the 8 new funding opportunities that we at Creative New Zealand will be offering. I'll go into detail about each of these as we move along. Again, take any screenshots, send us a message. Q&A is at the bottom there. If it gets a little confusing, we'll do our best to try and get to all of those. If we don't get them to them today or tonight, we'll try and answer them on the website. So as I said before, the Toi Tipu Toirea Fund, supporting emerging artists at the beginning of their career. This fund is up to $10,000 for you to work towards development of your practice, development of yourself as an artist. There's part of that putea there you can use towards working with a mentor, a mātanga, tohunga. I know how valuable this has been, just going through a year of trialling this program. Amanda and I developed the new Toi Tipu Toirea program, which had a few nuances to it. One of those was the alignment of the maramataka to our funding, the way that we work with and engage with our people, the timing of that. It's all important to us and our people. The next fund is the Creative Fellowship Fund. Now this is sort of exciting to me, because it doesn't, you can choose where this goes. This is going to take the pressure off you, where you don't necessarily have to submit a project. I know, sounds a little crazy, right? You can apply for up to 25k or 50k. Now you choose where that goes. That might be your stipend for 6 months or a year. That might be the rent on your whare to relieve or alleviate some of that pressure of the housing climate at the moment, as long as it's helping to support you as an artist. Kanaka koe te tikanga, and we're happy and we're open to suggestions on how you might be able to do that. I'll go into more detail about that. Moving on. The Creative Impact Fund. So moving away from outputs to impacts, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, up to 50k or up to 125k, depending on what's available, depending on what your ask is. Development Fund for artists and practitioners. Now, if you applied for, if you thought about applying for the BBC Fund in the past, the Building Business Capability Fund, this is similar to that, except for this one, you are now able to apply for activities, I guess, or training towards your artistic expression as well. So it used to be just the business side, the business capability side, but you are also able to now work with mentors, work with, or you identify where those gaps are and how you'd like to address those gaps. the New Leaders Program or cohort. So this fund here, or this, sorry, it's not a fund, it's an opportunity where we will be working with a cohort of leaders across the arts sector, across the ecology of Ngāti Māori, to develop skills like financial literacy, governance training. I'll get a little bit more into that. That's quite exciting as well. There's a lot of new leaders moving into CEO positions, leadership positions, governance positions, and we really like to support you and give you all the tools that you need to be able to do that in the best way we can. Arts organisations, arts groups, between 50k and 125k. Development fund for arts organisations and groups. Now this is up to 20k. Now this is similar to the development fund. So that's the blue one up in the top right hand corner. But the difference here is that this one here is for organisations. It's up to 20k, and this is the first time that we've been able to offer this opportunity in a contestable fund. So that's also quite exciting, because I know that there's a real need for development of some of our organisations out in the sector. And the last one here is residencies, internships, and fellowships fund. So the amount is still yet to be advised, but this is really supporting other organisations. Doesn't necessarily have to be an arts organisations that want to support the growth of Ngāti Māori. And I'll talk about that a little bit further on down the track. But if you've been following us lately, you would have, or reading some of the information about how limited our funding might be moving forward. You know, we've really looked at our programs, and we looked at how we might be able to not only grow the pot, but be able to offer opportunities that are outside the normal way that we're working. Right. Aroha mai e huama. Gonna get sick of my voice tonight. I apologize. So there's a lot of information to go through. I'll try to get through as quick as I can, but I also don't want to rush things. So that things are, you know, right. Early careers, early career artist fund, or Toitipu Toerea. I'm just keeping them sort of generic for now, just so that it's not confusing for everybody while we're launching this. All right, Toitipu Toerea. So this funding, this funding is to support artists and art practitioners, collaborators at the early stages of the career who wish to learn, create, and share their mahi with their communities and have the support of a mentor. The funding runs open early March 2024, and there will be 4 notification periods throughout 2024. You can apply for up to 10k towards creating, presenting, distributing work, sharing knowledge and skills, with others, and mentor fees. So what you can expect will be included in the application is what you want to do, who is your mentor, and if you don't have one, we can help you with that as well. But I really encourage you to have a think about if there's one person in your world, whether it's Whakairo or Laranga or Taonga Puoro, aha to aha ranei, who would that person be? And here's an opportunity that you can not only pay yourself, but you can pay that mentor to work with you as well. We're also going to tell us why is it important to do this now? What you think the benefits will be for your practice and your communities, what you hope this might lead to, and the amount of funding that you might need. Now, this is something different. You do not need to provide a budget for your application. No, out the gate, right? However, if your application is successful, we will then work with you to provide a budget and support you to not only create a strong, robust budget for yourself moving forward, but something that you can use for other funding opportunities, not just with us, with other people, other arts organisations as well. Now, the decisions will be made by Creative New Zealand staff and peer assessors who will assess the applications, and our Māori staff will contribute to the process, all stages of that process. So it's a Toitipu Toerea fund, or that early careers fund. Creative Fellowship Fund. So next one. Right, funding to support artists, practitioners and collaboratives to develop innovative, creative, to develop, innovate, create and take risks within their own work. So this is a financial contribution to expand creativity and create something truly new and exciting. There are 2 rounds in 2024. The first round will open in March 2024 with activities starting after July. So we need that time to be able to do the assessment process and all of that back-end stuff. That our staff will be working hard to make sure we can get that back out to you as soon as possible. There are 2 fixed amounts. There's 25k for 6 months of activity, or 50k for up to 18 months of activity. So that that could be materials, equipment. That could be paying your studio costs. It could be go towards international travel as long as it's contributing to the development of your practice. It could be as I said before, capital expenditure. So this is, I know for visual artists, things like iPads, being able to have that access to that type of tapu, so that you're able to grow your craft or diversify your art form so that you can diversify your income streams. There is no budget required as these amounts are fixed, so you can apply for up to 25k. If you're applying for up to 25k, you'll need to describe what it is you want to do, what have you been doing recently, and how will the grant contribute to what you want to do now, and why is it important to do this now, and how you think this will benefit your practice. If you're applying for 50k, you'll also need to describe how you will share your learning and your discoveries and your reflections with others, and who will they be. And so we're not just working in isolation. That this is something that we heard on the road too, is that when we create, our mahi is not just for us, it's for te ora na tonutanga o ngā mahi toi, he taonga tuku iho tēnei. So he rereke e tēnei mea te toi Māori ki te rā o te arts. He kōrero no tērā. How decisions are made, again, so Ngā Toi Māori funding, that's the funding pool that you would be applying to if you are working with, if you're creating work that has mātauranga Māori in it, or uses mātauranga Māori in the process of your mahi, and is sort of evident in the final result. So Creative New Zealand staff across art form panels and peer assessors will come together to assess the applications and make decisions. So in that panel also, the decisions will be made there and then by the peer assessors and a couple of Creative New Zealand staff there. There won't be a separate process at moderation. That decisions are then made after the decision is made. It'll be there, done and dusted, and so there's more control, I guess, from the sector, from our peer assessors to make those decisions. Next fund, Creative Impact Fund. Funding to support artists, art practitioners, collaboratives to develop work that enriches audiences, communities, encouraging understanding and participation. Now there's 2 rounds, the first 2 rounds in 2024, and the first round opens in March for activities starting after June. Now the types of mahi that you can apply for this particular fund is the creation and presentation of artwork, such as exhibitions or performances. So similar to the arts grants. Distribution of artworks, such as publications, catalogues, resources, recording or touring. So that's for the musicians out there. Audience engagement and raise awareness, including research and advocacy. Workshops and knowledge and skill sharing, such as wānanga. Now, you can either apply for up to 50k for this fund, or between 50 and 125. You'll have to, so if you are applying for that higher end, you'll have to show other forms or other sources of revenue, other stakeholder investment into your project as well. So the next week there will be a couple of Q&A sessions that I'll talk a little bit about as well later on, where if you have any questions that are particular to your organisation, yourself, or what you want to do, that'll be the best place to ask them. Now, the maximum amount an artist or practitioner collaborative can receive in 12-month period across this and other creative fellowship and the Creative Fellowship Fund is 125k. Now, there are no more resubmissions. So in the past, if your application was declined, you may not have been able to have the opportunity to resubmit that application. So that's gone now. Now, you know, sometimes there's just not enough money, and that's the only reason why your application wasn't successful in that particular role. We know sometimes that before the removal of the caps, there was a lot of anxiety trying to hit that submit button before it reached that cap, and so it's not all of that information got, and the caps are gone now. So hopefully we're able to alleviate some of that pressure. What's included in your application? What is it that you want to do? What have you been doing recently, and how has this informed what you want to do now? What are the needs that you've identified for your community, and how will you meet those needs? And of course, a detailed budget. Now, the Development Fund for Artists and practitioners. Bear with me, I hope you guys are still there. Grab yourselves a cup of tea, a coffee, a glass of water. We'll put some music on the background if my voice is just getting too much for you. I get it. All right, moving on. For artists, practitioners, collaboratives to expand skills and careers through specific professional and creative development initiatives. So, as I said before, this is a little bit like the Building Business Capability Fund. However, you're now able to apply for artistic activities or things that might support you in your growth as an artist or as a practitioner. So it could be research, it could be training, it could be mentoring, it could be attending workshops, conferences, wānanga, both nationally and internationally. Okay. So again, I won't read through all of the information there. Basic stuff. What is it you want to do? Why is it important? And the most important part here, to save you a lot of time, we've listened to what you said. We've taken out the budget. If your application is successful, we will work with you to provide a budget. We still have to answer to MCH and those who fund us, but there's no point in you going through all of that mahi when you may or may not be successful. But if you are, and you're going to get a bit of putea, then we will expect a budget moving forward. Right, the New Leaders Program. Supporting new and emerging leaders to grow their skills and build peer support networks, leading to strong, sustainable art communities and organisations. Now, it's offered in the second part of the year and opening in July 2024, and the program will start in 2025. Now, this program provides peer support or peer support as a network or cohort, and build I guess, capability building opportunities. It's focused on areas such as the relationships between governance and management, financial literacy or influencing skills. So some of the training opportunities that will be a part of this will be things like strategic planning, being able to write a good strategic plan, business plan, working with boards, so governance training. That might even be co-governance training for some of the organisations. I sort of expect that from the non-Ngāti Māori organisations, but hea koutou te tikanga, that might be something that you may want to ask about in our Q&As. Health and safety, compliance, regulation. So I won't go any further into that. We still haven't decided on how much or how much we will be able to invest into this in terms of time, but it is still under construction. But I'll move on from there. Arts Organisations and Groups Fund. So as you can see, we have separated individuals out from organisations, from collaboratives, from groups, and individual artists. So you're no longer competing against one another in a way that's not fair for, I guess, not fair for those who are running solo, going up against organisations or festival. Okay, so this funding for arts organisations and groups to develop a program of work for up to 2 years opens after May 2024 for activities starting December 2024. Excuse me. There are 2 tiers of support for this funding, and they can include operational costs or artistic costs up to 50k a year for 1 or 2 years, or between 50 and 125k per year. And just noting here that amounts above 100k will be sort of an exception depending on the funding that we have available. If you're just joining us, as I said a little bit earlier, our current system is under pressure. We don't have enough money, and we are working on how we're able to grow that pot, and I guess use our influence as a Crown organisation to be able to work with some of our partners to help support our sector better. So this is, I guess, another one of those ways that we're able to support and grow that pot for our people. Applications for 50k or less. What you'll need to include is a description of what you want and a detailed budget. By 50k is a lot of money, so we do expect a budget there. Your strategic plan or manifesto or other vision statements. I won't read through all of that information there. I know it's getting on, and you can screenshot that, and it's pretty consistent with most of the funds there. Okay, and moving through. Right now, if you're applying for the same fund, but between 50k and 125k, these are some of the things that you may want to consider when you're applying. So what is it you want to do? The needs that you've identified in your communities, how you engage with those communities to meet those needs. So exactly the same, I guess, as the previous slide, up to 50k. Of course, a lot more money, so there's a little bit more expectation with how much detail that you need to provide for these funds. Development Fund for arts organisations and groups. Funding for arts organisations and groups to build the capability in areas to create long-term success. Round 1 opens in 2024, opens after the 1st of July, for activities starting after October 2024. Now this is up to 20k, and as I said before, it's similar to the Building Business Capability Fund if you've applied for that in the past. But this one here is focused really on organisations. And some of the things that you can apply for and with this puta, within this fund, is training for cultural competency or responsiveness to Te Tiriti o Waitangi, accessibility, planning, policy, training, those types of things, research and evaluation, governance, development, really, really important. Audience engagement, financial resilience, and environmental responsiveness. So there's a lot of, really sort of excited about this too, because we haven't been able to offer this type of offering in a contestable model before. And so we know that a lot of organisations are doing it rough, and there are a lot that are doing it as a two-man band, but running amazing, huge projects or festivals or bodies of work. So hopefully this will be able to help support you and develop that business arm. What to include in your application, describe what you want to do. your plan to implement, some of the outcomes, or what the benefit is towards, the arts organisations or groups and the communities, and you also need to provide a budget. Moving on. Residencies, internships, and fellowships. Bear with me, Huama, we're nearly there. This is the last fund. All right, so this is a fund aimed at providers to offer a residency or fellowship or an internship for New Zealand artists and practitioners and for up to 3 years. So this fund will open once every 3 years. I know it seems a little bit long, but I think that there will be lots of offerings that will come out of this opportunity. It also puts the responsibilities to support the arts or the infrastructure of the arts in Ngāti Māori back out into our community, whether it's corporate investors or other organisations that engage with the arts. Currently, we're the only organisation that supports the arts in Ngāti Māori. However, every sector across the whole of Aotearoa and internationally engage in the arts or in Ngāti Māori one way or another. And they all do. There are a lot of them that want to know how they can support more. So this is something that we've developed so that we're able to work with partner with organisations to create more opportunities, to create more platforms for presentation and development of the work. So you can apply for cost towards delivering a residency, fellowships and internships, also things like stipend or artist time, artist wage, per diems, travel and accommodation costs, materials, that might be capital expenditure, that could be marketing costs, it could be whatever you think of as someone that might be interested in holding a residency that you might need to help support their artist or their arts organisation to thrive within the residency itself. And so some of the things that you might want to include in the application, of course, is, who are you, and a plan or what the residency might look like, or the internship or the fellowship might look like, what your relationship with mana whenua might be, or with your community. Sometimes we could go into other arohe and not have that relationship, or not know or understand how to make those first steps to acknowledge mana whenua of that particular area that you're creating or presenting that work in, and we can help you with that. And if we can't, we will reach out to some of our partners, whether that's within Crown or government or iwi out in the community as well. You'll need to tell us how you'll support the recipient. So manaakitanga is at the forefront. Especially if you are looking at applying, and anai te nua, te katoa pe, o tātou e noho ake nei ki roto ki tēnei huihuinga he Māori, so I really don't have to talk about manaakitanga, you already know about that. But this might be an opportunity for non-Māori organisations to pick up and support Ngāti Māori, and also just remind them of the responsibilities, not just to Tiriti or Waitangi, but manaakitanga. All right, so there'll be a panel of peer assessors that will assess the applications and make decisions on the day. Right, that was the end of the offerings, the 8 offerings that we were able to I guess create or co-create with the sector. Some of you may be watching here today if you participated in any of those workshops or any of the working bees. Tēnā rā koutou, ka mihi ake rā. And anei ko ngā hua ka puta mai. So we dedicated Q&A sessions, question and answer sessions for Ngāti Māori, for general arts, for the Pacific arts, and there'll be some there with NZS Health support as well. So take a screenshot of that for Ngāti Māori next week, 21st of November, 12 p.m, and also the 22nd of November, 7 p.m. And so those will be the Ngāti Māori focused hui. But of course, you're more than welcome to go to any of the others as well. Who can you get in contact with? A list of names there at the top there. Kiriama Teua, kiriama.teua@creativenz.govt.nz. But feel free to reach out to any one of the other navigators or arts practice directors, especially if you already have a relationship with them. You don't just have to come to me. I'm here, and so are some of our other staff, like Te Otinga. Some of you guys know have a really good relationship with Te Otinga. Reach out. We're here to help, here to support you. Failing that, you could just email funding@creativenz.govt.nz or give us a call on 0800 Creative. So I'm just going to stop sharing there.
Well done, Kiriama. You need a well-deserved break after that. I feel quite guilty making you do all that and not helping out. So I'll give you a bit of a breather by answering some questions that have popped up in the chat. But before I do that, just to reiterate that tonight's session is really an information sharing session. Although we will be answering some questions, like Kiriama said, next week there is a dedicated question and answer session. So don't feel like this is your only opportunity. And if you're like me, it takes sometimes overnight, sometimes a week for those questions to formulate in your brain. Don't worry, you'll get the chance to answer them. But let's move on to some people who have questions tonight. I noticed there's one here about the screen industry need training and internships for BTL, don't know what that means, and post-production skills. Is Creative New Zealand considering this sector? Well, Creative New Zealand is one of a number of Crown agencies, and our sister agency, the New Zealand Film Commission, their mandate is to look after the screen and film sector. There's also Te Māngai Pāhua and New Zealand On Air, who it's their remit to look after those sectors. Our mandate is to look after the art sector. So maybe you should talk to them about what they're doing in this space and say, hey, look at what Creative New Zealand's doing. Can you show us the fund pathway for an individual artist and then the fund path for an organisation, please? Excellent idea. I'm a visual person. I think if we let's see if we can create something. However, if you do go to the website now and you look up about these new funding opportunities, you'll see that there's the opportunity to group the different funds, whether that's by through those funnels that Kiriama talked about at the start. So those are early career artists and the opportunities that are available for them, artists and practitioners, and then arts organisations and groups. And that gives you an idea of the types of opportunities that are available for those particular cohorts. I guess there's no clear pathway anyway for artists. Everyone goes on their own journey, so there'll be times where these opportunities will be relevant and pertinent for where you are in your career, and other times not. So maybe have a look on the website under those three headings to see what the funds and opportunities are. Sorry, doing two things at once now. Thank you for the kōrero. For the emerging leadership cohort, can one of the elements for learning be cultural competency? As I noticed, this is not part of what has been put forward. It means new leadership, not necessarily Māori, will have encountered cultural competency. Kiriama, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Aira atu. In short. I think it's really, really important that there is a mechanism to support that. Not all of us were brought up on the marae. Not all of us have that depth of knowledge. Some of us are more fortunate than others. And if that's an aspiration or something that your organisation wants to develop moving forward, then absolutely that needs to be addressed, and we're able to support that moving forward as well.
Okay, thanks, Kiriama. I'm very aware of the time, and I just wanted to reiterate, if you do have any more questions that pop into your head overnight or over the coming days, don't worry, this is not the only chance to interact with us. We do have the Q&A session next week. You can always call us. You can always send us an email. So given the time and that it's 8 o'clock, Hanako, can I ask you to wrap up our session tonight, please?
Tēnā tātou. Tēnā koutou I whai wahi mai ki tēnei hui nā tātou. Kua rongo koutou I nā kōrero a kirea me Amanda. Me hara tēnei te wā anake, engari he wā anō, ka hoki mai koutou ki te whakarongo, ki te whakaputaputa pātaitai, kia marama ki tāu titiro. Nā reira, nei rā te mihi ka koutou. So again, just echoing what Kirema and Amanda said, you know, it's a different way of working, and, you know, we want to ensure that our practitioners, our artists are well looked after in the process. And this is what you guys wanted, you know, that human-centric thing around manaaki. So, anei rā Kirema me Amanda, whakakanohi nei I tēnei āhuatana tātou te iwi Māori. So, nei rā te mihi ka koutou, tēnā tātou, ka whakakapi tō tātou hui nā. Kei au te tauranga tū, te Māori tū te whiwhianu tuku tū, I piritia mai rā I reo te whiwhiaro tō. Tēnei te Māori ka whakapi te Māori e rangi e tū nei, nōku no tū ki te whakatau ira mai. Tēnei te Māori ka whakakake, te Māori ka puta ki te whai au, ki te ao marama, haumi e, hui e, tā ki e.
Pai ki e.
Thank you. Kia ora, everyone. Have a good night.
Māori e, kia au te moe.
Nai.